Hey everybody, welcome to Lore Friday for January 22nd, 2021. I'm your host, DM Galabond. Alright, now we're getting close to finishing up our look at the Princes of the Apocalypse, and we're going through one of the final side trek adventures in this today. Um, this one is called Counsel of Despair. And basically, it takes you out of the temples and the fanes, the portal areas of the, leading to the elemental planes where we've been, and it takes us back to the surface to look at what happens to a town when one of the cults gets their hooks into the elders of the town. So let's go ahead and take a look at this adventure. And what we will see is we will see that this is um, an adventure that is designed for level 12 characters. It's called Counsel of Despair. And this one gives us a little look into the town of Westbridge. So, before we get too much further, obviously this is from Princes of the Apocalypse, published April 7th, 2015. And the theme of this particular adventure is to seize control of an occupied location, such as a fortress town or a ship. Actually, it's kind of to drive out occupying forces, if you will, um, and to allow the citizens of the town to get control of their town back. Um, what's happened here is the cult of elemental earth has occupied the town of Westbridge, and they have convinced the locals that only the earth cult can save them. The backstory on this: earthquakes have badly damaged Westbridge. In an attempt to stop further damage, some of the elders among the townsfolk have given over control of the town to the elemental earth cult and some of their monstrous allies. And what is happening as the characters get on the scene is that a Black Earth priest and some cultists have taken over the inn as their headquarters, and they are accompanied by a hill giant and some of the hill giant's hobgoblin helpers. So um, you've got cultists, some of whom are casters. You've got a significant portion of the town that is feeling bullied and, you know, kind of capitulating to this cult. And the cult also has a giant and some tough goblinoids on their side. So the most common enemy that you're going to run into is the humanoid cultists. The toughest encounter, well, it's going to involve that hill giant. You might wind up fighting the hill giant and some of its hobgoblin lackeys. You also might wind up fighting that hill giant, the hobgoblin lackeys, and some cultists all at the same time. So that's definitely going to be the toughest encounter that you have. Uh, Hill Giant is the most unique creature or item in this adventure. And I kind of like this because my favorite part about this adventure is the whole aspect of going into an occupied area and trying to drive out the people that are occupying it. Unseating your foe after they've already gotten their hooks into this town and they have control of it. As far as how you can adapt this to Homebrew, well, of course, you can reskin the town and the enemies anytime you want your players to dislodge an occupying force. Use with other additions. Every The cultists are all humanoids. So you can go find any kind of humanoid from any version of D&D, any edition of D&D. And the hill giants and hobgoblins, they've been around forever. So there's nothing unique to 5e. I mean, the specific uh, NPC types for the cult are a little unique, but you can easily replace them with, something else from an earlier edition of the game. Or if you're playing this with, let's say, if you want to put this into a Pathfinder game, you can easily find Pathfinder monsters um, that would work. So, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to detail a little bit through this adventure and see how it works out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show us a map of the actual town. Now, this is not an official Wizards of the Coast map. Uh, this is a blogger who has a blog, calls himself Corey Artist Cartography over on WordPress. And this blogger created this map of the town. It's the best map of the town that I could find. So, kind of gives you an idea of the layout. The town is at an intersection. I'll go ahead and show you where it is on the map of the campaign. Westbridge is right here, where the long road, which is this north and south road, intersects with the Stone Trail, which is this east and west road. So it's just to the east of the Crypt Garden Forest, a little bit west of the Nettleby Ranch, and south of the Desserin Hills and north of the Sumber Hills. So that's kind of where we are in this whole aspect here. All right, so um, the the adventure is brought to the attention of the PCs by an NPC named Sedina Wolfpaw. I mean, that's how it's written, but obviously you can bring it to the attention of the PCs any way you want to. Uh, she has been through the town, and she explains that Westbridge was damaged by earthquakes. Was down that way, found half the town gathered in front of Harvest Inn. Most of them were listening to a priest in stony armor. He was talking about how destruction was coming, and only the chosen would be spared, and they were listening to him. And when she tried to speak up, the priest told the town folk to seize her, but she managed to escape. And she's been looking for someone to fight those lunatics ever since. All right, so if there's two different ways they can be received. If they go into town directly as adventurers, like riding in, hey, we're here to kick out the bad guys and give you back your town, they will wind up meeting with a orchard keeper named Jendon. And he is not an evil person, but he is one of the people that has just been, his will to resist has just been crushed uh, by the events and by the occupying cultists. So he he's heard about heroes, but the earthquakes keep coming and the destruction keeps happening, and he just doesn't think there's any way around it. So he feels like the only choice that the town has is to uh, knuckle under to the pressure of the elemental earth cultists. But if they slip into town and try not to be noticed, they will meet someone who despises the cult and despairs that her neighbors have given in to them, and um, she wants the cult out, and she'll sort of give a little bit of intelligence about where the cult is based and how most of the townsfolk are just simply too scared to fight back. And they uh, you have a description of what's happening in the town. Most of Westbridge lies in ruin. Handful of people are out and about, but they keep to themselves. Several dozen more have gathered in a clearing. They each wear a brown patch on their cloaks or tunics as they stand listening to a trio of hooded priests who are leading them in a strange prayer to the Black Earth. And the um, the priests, the so-called priests, are cultists who are indoctrinating some of the townsfolk, uh, and the townsfolk are frightened. They don't like the cultists, but they fear what would happen if they turn against the cultists. Uh, then, if you go to the Harvest Inn, you'll find the leader of the cult, uh, who's Drayon, and he's a Black Earth priest. He has two Black Earth guards, a hill giant, and a gang of 6 hobgoblins that are the lackeys of the hill giant. And the group has taken over the Harvest Inn, and the giant sleeps in the stable. Uh, so there's a halfling that runs the inn, uh, and they feel like they feel little better than poorly treated servants, desperately trying to keep up with the hill giant's appetite, and they want the cultist dead. And then, if there's a confrontation, the priest will try to use the uh, common folk of the town as to drive out the characters. And if that fails, he tries to use them as living shields. And then, obviously, of course, you'd have to fight against the giant, the hobgoblins, and the other members of the Black Earth cult. So that is, it's kind of open ended. How the party is going to go about. There's no trick to dislodging these. It's just a simple matter of, um, overwhelming the occupying forces, and presumably the party could go about that in a number of ways. They might be able to use some ability checks like persuasion or intimidation or things like that to maybe make the townsfolk be more afraid of the party than they are the cultists, or to inspire the cultists that, hey, now you've got some, fighting back up here. We'll take the lead, and you guys have our backs when we go to try to drive these guys out. And or it could be just a simple, they go into that inn with all guns blazing and or all spells blazing, and they uh, try to take out the cultists, take out the giant, take out the hobgoblins, whatever they can do. So that is where, um, that is how this particular adventure will play out. And then, of course, if you're going to pull this out of the campaign and put it into your own homebrew campaign, then you can replace the cultists with perhaps representatives of whatever the umbrella organization is or umbrella baddie is that your whole campaign pivots around. Or they could even be just sort of, you know if you're running a campaign where the world has gone to hell in a handbasket, these could just be like, you know you could replace the cultists with whatever your world's equivalent is of the Hells Angels, where they just are sort of opportunists and pirates and street thugs that are going to come along and, oh, we can bully this town and we can just sort of take over and make them wait on us hand and foot. So you could do whatever you want with the with this particular uh, with this particular adventure here. It's a very nice little set piece that you can drop into your own campaign and use for whatever purposes. If it is connected to a larger plot point, then maybe give the leader of this cult a piece of correspondence or some information or an item that will be a clue for the PCs. Oh, okay. We find this, and it leads us on to other things. All right, and that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for coming by today and hanging out. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, click the post notification bell, and don't forget to look in the description to find out how you can follow me on all the social media platforms, as well as learning about all the live streams and the ways that you can see those or follow those, participate in those over on the Twitch channel that I have. With that, I am going to bid you all good night. Take care, everybody, and we will talk to you later. Bye bye, everybody.